How's it going, everybody? My name is Zach from Off the Podium, and I'm going to show you my introduction into modeling in Hytale. Now, right now, you do not directly model in Hytale. You use another application called Blockbench, and they have the Hytale plugin where you can create characters and props. With my background in music education and performing arts, I wanted to design something without any experience, and I wanted to bring a little bit of my personal flair into Hytale. So without further ado, here is the very first model I have ever made in a 3D modeling software, and I'm going to try to import it into Hytale on day one as a part of a small mod pack that will have different types of things in it to help decorate your home. So here it is, my upright piano. This is the first time I've ever modeled something in a game, and I'm glad I picked the piano because it's a whole lot easier to do than something that's cylindrical. And I wanted to just test my ability and see and understand the tools before I start making anything more challenging. I have two separate parts here. First is the piano itself, and second, I made a little sheet music, so I can get rid of that and put it back on there. I'm still deciding on how I want to actually texture the sheet music, so that is kind of placeholder. But I'm overall really excited by how this turned out. I individually modeled each and every white and black key so that in the future, if I wanted to animate keys moving, I can go in and click each individual one. And I don't know if it's possible, but I'd like to assign sounds to the animation. So now you can see on the model that I've actually depressed some of the white keys. So you can see that there is a difference in the height, and also that it will be possible to individually animate these keys once I've grouped them properly. I needed to adjust my pivot points within my models so that whenever I eventually animate them, they rotate at the proper area. First one that I did is I fixed the pivot point of my pedals down below. So let's take a look here. So if I go to my tools and I click rotate, you can see here that my rotation tool is actually at the end of the pedal where it should be. And that way, whenever I animate it, it will actually move down from the correct point. So I'm going to reset that. I'm going to go over to another one, and you'll see if you don't create the correct pivot point and you don't move it, the rotation can be all kinds of weird. As you can see on this model, the pivot point is not actually attached to where this pedal is. And so whenever I start rotating it, it's going to start rotating around that pivot point. And so it's a lot less accurate and not where I want it. So all I have to do is go up here to the top where it says pivot tool, and then I just have to drag it over to where my actual key is. Well, the pedal is. So I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to put it to where it should rotate from. Now, when I go into rotation, this should work. And now it pivots just like the other pedal. So the next thing is that I wanted to show you is I have individually grouped my piano and the music here. So that becomes important whenever you go over to the animation section because you can only put in your timeline the groups that you have. So I'm going to have to go in and regroup some of the keys so that if I want to press down a certain chord, I have to have those in folders or groups as they're called in Blockbench. So I decided the next thing I'm going to do in this video is I'm actually going to model the piano bench with you all live. So before you want to create any model, I highly recommend adding the group folder, and I'm going to pull that out of my music folder here. So now I have another root folder that is going to be labeled bench. And within that, I'm going to create an element, and that's going to be a cube. When you're working with Hytale elements to build anything, a character or a prop, you have to use cubes only. And I'll show you how you can add extra detail through that, even with only cubes. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and resize this. This is going to end up being the seat of my actual bench. So we're going to resize that to about a third of the size of the piano. And there's going to be two layers to this one. There's going to be the cushion, and then there's going to be the actual piece of wood that the cushion is inside of. So now that I've resized this properly, I'm going to go ahead and Control C and Control V. Going to add the element. Now I'm going to resize it. I'm going to add two, two, adding 2 units out to each side. I'm gonna lower it just a little bit, and then if I hold down control when I move, I can do, by tenths of a point. So now I'm only gonna move it by half of a unit, and now that's gonna be the piece of wood that is surrounding the cushion for the bench. Thing that I've gone ahead and done, because it doesn't automatically do it. So if you've already modeled something and you're adding new shapes to it, you're gonna have to go in, select everything that's new, and then once you've already created a UV texture, you're gonna have to right click here on your already created texture, right click, and then append elements to template, and then you'll click OK. Then once after that is done, then it will be added and you can paint it like normal. Whenever you've created a model, whenever you immediately go to paint on it, it'll say it doesn't have a texture. And so what you'll have to do is you'll go over here to where it says create texture, create your texture, make sure it's 64 by 64, then click OK. Then it should let you paint on it, whether that use the paintbrush tool, the paint bucket, you'll be able to use the eraser, whatever tools you need. So now all we're going to do is we're going to add on more of our parts of the bench. And that's just going to be, we're going to add the legs. I'm actually going to steal the legs from the piano. Control C, Control V, elements. Gonna bring it over. So now you're gonna see me actively create this extra part of the UV texture. So I've selected all 4 of my cubes, which are my legs. I'm gonna right click here, go to append elements to template, gonna click confirm, and so now I can independently paint these without having issues. Okay, so now that I've created my legs, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna use my paintbrush. I'm gonna use a circle brush. I'm gonna use a softness with my black color that I have, and it will create a little bit of noise while I'm painting this, and it should end up being pretty nice by the time that we're done. So since these are all on the same cube, currently they're cloned, they're gonna have the same texture as I'm painting over them right now. So now if we go back into the edit mode, we have ourselves a lovely piano bench and a piano. If you'd like to see more of my models being made, I plan on making a snare drum, some recording equipment, probably some headphones, another like digital keyboard and some other stuff so that we can make a cozy home studio within Hytale. Let me know if you'd like to see more of these modeling videos. As I get better, then the tips that I give will also be better. So thank you all so much for watching. It's been Zach from Off the Podium, and I'll see you in the next video.